Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I'm Sunny Pancholi, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such corporate stalwart on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Rajiv Vishwanathan. He is a skilled technology professional and a board member with a distinguished career spanning nearly 2.5 decades and spreading across 3 continents. Currently, as the founder and consulting executive of Varystec Online, he has demonstrated expertise in technology strategy, executive management, program leadership, consistently delivering impactful transformations for both niche technology firms and tier 1 organizations. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, Mr. Rajiv.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you for being here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
So to begin with, Mr. Rajiv, could you tell us in brief about your career journey so far?
Yeah, sure. So my entire journey has largely been spent in trying to use technology to make organizations more process efficient. It's been called by different terms at different parts of time: process efficiency, automation, digitization, and all of them lead towards making industry more efficient through the use of technology. My journey's been an interesting and varied one, and it's taken me to different places around the world, for which I'm grateful. I did my engineering in computer science out of Mumbai. I then went on to do a master's in computer science from the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, in California. I then ended up working in the US for a number of years in various sort of leadership positions around everything from program management to business development. I got an opportunity to take a leadership role with the same firm out of Asia. So I found myself in Singapore at one point of time, which was a very different place from the US, and like huge learning opportunity from just a cultural and a vibrant place to be in. And I traveled extensively around Asia Pac with that role. I did work in Singapore, in Australia, Hong Kong, to name a few places. And that my company I was in eventually got acquired by IBM. I spent some time in IBM. I ended up building an organization for consulting and delivery on a particular technology platform from the ground up. We were doing business in Southeast Asia quite a bit. And I reached a point in my life where I thought, well, okay, I've spent a lot of time inside technology companies. To truly round myself, I need to go out, take a look at the real world. So I left IBM and I actually went to the other side, to the customer side, or the dark side, as my friends called it at the time. And I spent time in organizations like Deutsche, in Manila for a little while, and then quite a bit of time in Standard Chartered back in Singapore, where I focused on things like, again, business transformation, change management, and even did a stint running operations for the foreign exchange and asset and liability business. So really, I think a collection of all that gave me a very good grounding of all aspects of the business, right? And then that was right about the time where I went independent, decided, the entrepreneur bug bit me hard, and I struck out on my own. And since the last 8-9 years now, across Singapore initially, and then the last 5 or 6 years here in India, been really growing my own consulting business. So that's a short summary of my journey over 2 decades.
Mr. Rajiv, thank you for the excellent start to this interview. And it's an honor to interact with someone who exudes such a strong corporate personality.
Thank you.
Continuing our conversation, our viewers would like to know, how did you come about founding Varystec online? And what opportunities did you see, or what demands did you see being resolved with your firm?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Look, I was never the type that was conformant to or being satisfied with just doing one thing in one organization, which is sort of why I was always curious and always eager to figure out more things about the other side, which is why I went from working with software vendor companies to business organizations. And somewhere along the way, through my own personal journey, I realized just how different the Western world was from, let's say, Asia Pacific, and I witnessed firsthand the challenges that small firms, especially, and I'm not talking large firms, but small firms without necessarily a gigantic marketing budget or whatever, and the struggles they face in trying to expand to that part of the region. So I set myself up to guide niche firms in the Western world through my contacts there, and help them set up in Asia Pacific. We started this out in Singapore. I brought in a couple of companies there to Asia Pacific, helped them develop a market presence. I set up a corporate entity for one of them in Singapore. And at some point, it became apparent that while Singapore is a great place for doing business, I needed to be able to provide scale to my clients. And I saw both a combination of a professional and personal opportunity to bring my business over to India. And really, I think coming here, I've now helped companies set up entities here. I've helped them build development centers. I've also helped them go to market with various corporate customers around the world. And over time, the gamut of services has expanded from just set up business development to just all-round program management. And my clients actually want me to look after some of their entities here. So I do have a management role in some of these clients. So yeah, that's how I fell into it, really. And it's been quite the ride.
Amazing, Mr. Rajiv. So let's move ahead. And would you like to tell our viewers that what are some of the best decisions you have made in your professional life?
Yeah, well, look, I've never been scared of leaping into the unknown. In fact, I get a weird thrill about sort of just putting myself into positions that I'm not familiar with or uncomfortable with. And I think really, while I didn't know it at the time, my various relocations, first from the US to Asia Pac and Singapore, when at a time where all my friends were at the point where they were settling longer term in the US, I went against the grain and I came to Asia, and then again from Asia back to India when all of my friends were settling for the long haul in Singapore. Both of those, while they took like an enormous amount of courage and effort, in hindsight, they have been brilliant moves for me, because each one of those relocations meant that I was able to grow. I was able to bring my experience gained in one part of the world to another part of the world, and sort of eventually find my way back home, much to the delight of my family, but with also like an extensive amount of knowledge acquired globally, which, had I remained exactly where I was, who's to say how things might have been, but I doubt I'd have the richness of experience and diversity that I have now. So I probably count a couple of those things as the best thing done so far.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rajiv. So let's move ahead and dive into a different topic that is on ESG and corporate governance. So, as a board member, have you ever felt that the corporate governance framework offered by the government of India is supportive of the rapidly expanding corporate fabric?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. Look, on balance, I'm going to say yes. I think with initiatives, starting with the Companies Act in 2013, the LODR guidelines, the expanding set of regulations, the healthy need for independence in corporate governance, and then the need for independent directors, et cetera, are a big, long way forward from the days of Jugaad and having your best friends on your boards, right? So I think all of those are steps in absolutely the right direction. Our Prime Minister spoke yesterday about Digital India, about getting free of corruption. From BRSR reporting that was introduced a couple of years ago to formalize ESG. Setup of organizations like NFRAs and NCLTs. All of these are various steps to try and make sure that we move from, to a more efficient model of corporate governance. But look, I think industry is always going to be ahead of governance, and it's always going to be a perpetual role of catch-up. But I think what I see differently now from what I would have said, like even maybe a decade or so ago, is that there is a very formal recognition of the need for corporate governance, especially independence in the boardrooms, and the genuine need for expertise and the like. So I think while there's been a lot of catch-up done, I think there is a lot of wonderful work done, and definitely in the right direction.
Rightly said, Mr. Rajiv. So before we conclude our discussion on corporate governance and ESG, I would like to ask you one more question. As an ESG and corporate governance expert with prior board experience, what values do you bring to the table?
Yeah, look, I think, again, I think my personal view is that concepts like ESG are taking root firmly, and they are, along with a tighter alignment to compliances and the likes, they are turning corporate governance inside out, right? And in terms of moving from doing the bare minimum of, yes, I do my balance sheets and my audit reports, and if I'm an eligible corporation, I spend 2% profits on CSR and the likes, but moving into a model where you're taking concepts and principles of ESGs as foundational values that drive your corporate strategy. That is going to, the success of that, and the vision of our leaders like Digital India is going to depend heavily on technology, is going to be technology driven, and is going to be largely dependent on how efficient we are with systems that can effectively gather data, perform analysis on those results, right? And you can see that happening virtually in every sector. In the country, in the world, a lot of countries are probably a little ahead in terms of where they are with recognizing the value of ESG. But I think it's firmly set root in India. All of those things place me hopefully in a unique position with my extensive background on technology, on transformation, particularly working with risk, data management, and the likes. And given my varied experiences in various roles, I've got a background in most areas now. having had to set up entities, build organizations from scratch, which I've done multiple times, means you've got to be familiar with legal, with HR, with finance and the likes. And while I'm no finance expert compared to some of the eminent finance experts we have around here, I am reasonably well versed in the concepts, and I am hoping that a collection of all of these experiences, coupled with having had the ability to see some of these processes also close hand, and continuing to see some of these processes close hand in other parts of the world as well, will help me work with corporates in India, help boardrooms, and be able to share some of this experience and see if I can add value.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Rajiv, since we're talking about technology and you belong to technology space, so here is my next for you. What are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? That is A. And B, what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, Web 3.0, etc.?
I mean, look, I think as somebody says, the only constant these days is change, right? If you look at our own lives and certainly, you look a lot younger, but I look at my life over the last 20 years with, I've seen the internet revolution, the mobile revolution, the digital revolution, more recently, the revolution with things like payments and the likes. And all of these have been life-changing to the extent that none of us remember what our lives were like a decade or so ago, without some of these things. And I think where the world is moving towards now is AI, which has been a concept for a long, long time, is firmly taking root just because the know-how and the computing power now exists to be able to support it. I think technologies like AI, machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, these are foundational disruptors in terms of how we view industry, how we view most social aspects of our life, every day of our life. These technologies are already permeating into every bit of our life, and I'm only going to see that dramatically explode. If somebody told me 20 years ago that we'd have a car without a driver, I'd go, sure, maybe in a sci-fi movie, but that is real today, right? And I think the possibility is endless. I think it's going to have a groundbreaking effect on corporates, on corporate governance, on efficiencies in risk management. I mean, we're already seeing a few examples of that happening. So I think the change in the next decade or so will be tremendous in the space from a lot of these sort of groundbreaking technologies taking root. And I think we will be in the same place probably a decade from now going, I can't even remember how I used to do this 10 years ago, right? A lot of functions will disappear. I mean, there's a lot written about AI taking over the world and all that. I mean, I think, technology doesn't do anything on its own. I think along with the onset of technology, what is going to be critical is the evolution of the ethics and the framework around how we use technology. It is critical to make sure that technology is regulated, especially technologies like AI, which have such tremendous power and disruptive change. But it's our responsibility, I think, as leaders collectively to ensure that they're not misused, or they can deliver to the potentials that they're promising. So yes, I mean, I think this world's going to continue to evolve quite drastically.
Amazing. That was really insightful of you, Mr. Rajiv. Okay, so this brings us to the last question of the session. We are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pachan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole team of World Development Corporation?
Yeah, look, I mean, firstly, I want to congratulate WDC and Zishan and Havel for the vision and purely the benefit they're bringing and you guys are bringing to the corporate governance space. I think, in my whole journey through this, I think the course modules are very, very informative. They have detail, but I think more than that, the community of experts that come in and talk about how life is really in boardrooms and the like outside of the theory and what really happens, I think is priceless, it's invaluable. I've been privileged to now become a part of a network of highly eminent people in various different fields, like people that I probably would not have gotten to know before. And I think all of this is a big thanks to the effort that you guys are putting in, all of you guys at WDC. I'm very thankful to be a part of this journey, and I'm hoping that the community that you guys are building and the network that I'm now a part of can go a long way in improving corporate governance in this country going forward. So.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire the future leaders. Thank you once again for joining us today, and wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds.
Completely, 100% agree. Thank you very much, Sunny.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.